wish so many more creators would take their head out of the YouTube dashboard and just look at their video and say, actually, it didn't do as well as I hoped because it was rubbish. What's key to us is that the talent has a vision. If we're bringing the vision, it's our product, not theirs. Many creators, no matter their size, are still worried the moment they start to let someone in their trusted circle. There is a sentiment of people discussing short form in the same way they approach talking about junk food, or smoking, or a drinking habit. One of the ways that we help to make our decisions are we a good choice? Are we a good partner for this activity or for this client? Or the best?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Creator Ops Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Schreiber. The goal of this podcast is to educate you on becoming a great operator in the creator economy. On today's episode, I talk with Charles Haynes, who is the founder and managing director at Ziggurat XYZ, a talent agency representing digital creators within the STEM, DIY, and factual entertainment industries. They work with 35 different creators, but during our conversation, we focus on two. The first being James Hoffmann, who is a YouTuber with 2.3 million subscribers. James makes videos about anything and everything to do with coffee. He creates how-to guides, reviews, vlogs, video essays, and more. We'll also dive into Anna and Philip, who are the creators of the YouTube channel How to Renovate a Chateau. Anna and Philip create weekly videos about their renovation and have accumulated over 500,000 subscribers. Throughout our conversation, Charles and I dive into a number of topics, including the various revenue streams James Hoffmann has built, how creators should approach the process for choosing a manager or talent agency, how Charles developed additional services beyond just brand deal management, Anna and Philip's revenue streams, including their wallpaper launch, interior design course, and Patreon, the future of long and short form content, and lastly, Charles' perspective on managers collecting commission and poaching talent from other agencies. And now, without further delay, here's my conversation with Charles Haynes. Let's talk about James Hoffmann for a second, who, for those who don't know, is one of the biggest creators around coffee. You've worked with him for a number of years. Will you explain the various revenue streams that he has in place currently and just how that came to be? He's very prominent in the coffee space and probably the biggest coffee creator out there.
He's the king of coffee. Yeah. I don't want to do the typical manager thing of blowing my client's trumpet, but there is no one bigger. If you Google the coffee guy, it is the search term to find him. So James is an entrepreneur. Before he started his channel, he had started a coffee roasting company. And if you're talking about what good elements a creator that wants to launch product has, having been an entrepreneur before or having a management mindset towards an activity is magic from my perspective. Talking to James about investments and expertise and where he wants to go, he has a much clearer vision about what he wants to achieve. And I feel very privileged to have someone that has so much learning behind them already. But so then James started his channel. Very early on, he started to dabble with product. His first offering was a pair of coffee dice that you would throw, and it would give you a combination of what to do to make your coffee that day. And he hand-packed something like 2,000 sets of dice that took him probably 2.5 days and was miserable about it. So very early on understood the value of his niche, but also the challenge of meeting the demand that you create and needing infrastructure. I'm not sure exactly how many years, but for at least the 3 or 4 that I've known, he has a separate business called 10 Hundreds Thousands because he understood that he needed to invest in infrastructure and a separate entity, and it has a customer service person, a person whose role it is to run that merchandise business, and the 10 Hundred Thousands is about the fact that he always makes limited products of one type or another, so that there's always going to be a number on how many are launched. The runs are all currently still to do with his content. So limited prints, botanical prints of an artist he's commissioned, dosing cups, tempered cupping spoons, a Christmas jumper that was knitted, not printed. So a really good quality Christmas jumper that sold out in about 15 minutes. His attitude towards product is value ensuring it's something that he would want, that he's providing to his audience, and being audience first with regard to what he's trying to do. He's not trying to create a market with his product. He's guided by what people are watching and what he's consuming in his own content.
How do you see, or what does he communicate his long-term vision is with the business? How far does he want to take it? Because like you were saying, the fact that he's got the vision, that he understands that he's got to have a separate entity to set up support. There's all these other things that makes it much easier for you to work with because he understands it, but he's going to go farther as well.
I think James would be the first one to say that this isn't an operation geared for growth, stratospheric growth and exit. James's key drivers with almost everything he does are about creating sustainable choice, and whether that choice is a creative choice, a financial choice, fundamentally choice is potentially his biggest currency that he spends. So the infrastructure of tens, hundreds, thousands enabled him to sell his own book. So his most recent book was published by a traditional publisher, but he was able to agree a purchase with the publisher of a certain thousands of copies. And when he promoted it through his own channel, he could use the infrastructure of having tens, hundreds, and thousands with warehousing in the US and with warehousing in Europe to relatively easily respond to demand for his own book. And he builds that choice on top of each other, like the choice of being able to have his own product available whenever he wanted it, then led him to be able to choose to how he promoted his book and how much of that revenue he retained for himself. That follows through into his content. He launches product relating to wacky, weird, unusual things he does. If anyone wants to really get an understanding of what it means for him to be a coffee YouTuber, he has a video called How Does Great Coffee Taste?
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm glad you've seen it. It is an 8-minute single take video with a white cyc. It's an art piece, and so if anyone thinks he does make product review videos, but he wants to explore creativity. One of his ad reads was with the Barbershop Quartet talking about Squarespace. So
it's true creative, true art. I mean, yeah, the first, as I was watching that video, you get a minute in, then you get 2 minutes in, 3 minutes, and you're like, this is still one take. This is still one take. Like, I mean, no awkward pauses, no nothing. All the actors in it. It's just brilliant. It's
to James's credit, that was 5 full takes in one day to end up with the end product.
Wow. Yeah. What do you think creators, or what would you advise younger creators or other creators on your roster they could learn from James? What would you wish you could pull from James and put it into a creator who's kind of getting going, but they're needing a little bit more oomph?
I think, I don't mean to sound like I'm just promoting. This is going to sound self-serving, but James is very good at understanding what external expertise he needs and the value of outside advice. That's something he learnt early on in his career and in running a successful coffee roasting company. He understands he can't do it. He's not able to do it all. There is a lady, the managing director of the coffee roasting company. He doesn't run it. He's involved day to day, but he doesn't run it as a business anymore because he knows his limitations. And I think I would love more creators to understand that how to vet outside expertise, how to feel like they can involve other voices in their process confidently. I think many creators, no matter their size, are still worried the moment they start to let someone in their trusted circle, and that, oh no, is this person actually a charlatan? And vetting expertise is probably one of the most common services, so to speak, that we provide for our clients is kind of just being a second voice saying, yeah, I think these people are legit, or I think we've spoken to 10 people, we think these are the best.
What are those questions that maybe a manager or a creator who doesn't have a manager could ask as they're vetting? Because I think it's a great point and something that Mr. Beast has talked about in terms of utilizing contractors, utilizing independent folks who are experts and in this particular area, whether it's YouTube optimization, whether it's product development, whether it's whatever it is, find the best and figure out how you can work with them and how they can help you. But there needs to be a vetting process because there's a lot of bad eggs out there. How could someone vet them?
It's going to sound really unsexy, but follow a process. I think if we hear about people inside the creator economy, but also if we're thinking about friends or other businesses that do it in a certain way, if you ask for one recommendation and then you speak to them and you think, oh, they seem great, and hire them or work with them, we probably both have a lot of anecdotal information of that possibly not working out. We also have anecdotal information of that working out, but follow a process. Talk to 10 creators you know, ask them specifically for guidance on someone who can do X and give a specific description of what it is that you want solved. Speak to the 10 people that are recommended to you. Ask them the same questions. You don't need to ask. There's no magic question. Ask the 10 questions that, to each of them that you think is consistent and important to you. You will get a better idea about who is the right fit for you. You will learn more about your own process and your own judgment. You will practice judgment in people and reading people. So we do hiring for our clients, and one of the things that they find valuable is that we just bring a professional approach. We advertise, we do a job description, we vet CVs, we talk to references, we hold an interview process with set questions, and it's laborious. And one of the reasons why they hire us is because we do all the work. But you can do that in microcosm yourself as a creator and gain a lot of value from it. It sounds boring, but if you don't ask the same questions repeatedly in interviews or when you're vetting for an accountant, you have added an element of variation that makes one accountant a more enjoyable conversation because you riffed and you got on with them, and then you think they're better. And it turns out that actually you personally got on with them, that they had no idea what they're talking about.
Let's go down that path a little bit more as far as the additional services and just value that you guys bring, because the fact that you help them with hiring, you help them with their accounting. Talk about how you develop those services and then how you structure each of those services with the creators, because as we were talking about in the pre-interview and even before we hit record on this, the future of management and managing creators, working with creators, has to evolve beyond brand deals. It has to go further than just managing an inbox and taking 20%. More creators are demanding that. They're breaking up with their agent, they're breaking up with their manager because the value isn't there. How have you guys structured that?
I think so. This is nearly our 9th year. We're 9 years old in August, and when I started, I had it very specifically in my head that we'd be a management company. And I had in my mind the idea that in Hollywood, for instance, an agent is a licensed activity. They're the ones that can get you, as an actor, jobs. Your manager is someone who manages your business when you are so successful that you need someone to handle a business of opportunities for you, not get you work. And so I approached Ziggurat from the beginning of, I want to be able to provide support as a manager. In our industry, it did mean as well being the agent, doing the commercial deals, selling work. There's no means of being a manager only at the moment. And ultimately, as a service, access to income is a very valuable service still. But so we see our roles as a manager as helping them gain more income from the views they get and helping them to grow the audience that they have. And it is as broad as that. How we monetize that service with each client is partly dependent on the extent of the need. and their own personal goals. Because if someone says, I'm laser focused on audience development, I want all my platforms to be maximize the opportunity, I need to be on Spotify and Snapchat and whatever, I want to scale for 4 years, then I want to transact my audience. I want to exit, or I want to do something. That will involve our creative team. They will handle syndication and creative development. That might involve hiring. And those are probably fixed fees or like a monthly budget, because that's not tied to commercial activities. Another creator might say, I am revenue focused. I want to maximize my RPM. And so that is brand deal led. It's licensing. It's trying to get dedicated projects. It's ambassadorships over a long period of time. Those are kind of core management agent services. It's quite straightforward. It's 20%, where we're doing a lot of beating bushes and sending emails. And that might also lead to product development. Product development for us is partly based on how much risk is involved. As a manager, it's important to us that we enter into fair agreements with all of our clients. And rev share should be kept back for situations in which there is risk for both parties. And so for us, we provide a lot of investment and time and expertise for product development. In the most cases, we are entering into it on a rev share basis. That's how some of the services work. It's also not a Chinese menu where someone just goes down and ticks them off and we give a quote. Some of the services, they're too risky to provide to the person, or they are too. So, for instance, accounting and bookkeeping, we're not cheap. The value add of advising someone on how to run their business as well as doing the compliance part. Your general small creator, your middle class of the creator economy probably won't think it's a good value for money. Their local person's still good. But for anyone with significant overheads, with a growing team, with ambitions to scale, we are going to know exactly the detail of their business without them need to explain it, as well as being able to handle the compliance.
What's an example, Charles, of something that you would potentially look at and say, that's a bit too risky for us? Is it just a wild product idea that you're saying, I don't think that's probably our best bet as far as putting resources and time there?
The creator economy is a big industry now. And yes, it's still small in comparison to some industries, but we're a small business still. We have 20 employees, 35 clients. If we're not selective, we could easily just fizzle out by making too many poor decisions. And so one of the ways that we help to make our decisions are we a good choice? Are we a good partner for this activity or for this client? Or the best? Do we know this person's genre inside and out? Do we fit their ethos and their approach to this system? Have we done product development like this before? When we're able to answer those questions in the affirmative, I know that we can be the best fit for them, and then that ultimately helps lead towards us working together. There's a capacity. We only have so many slots on the roster. We only have so much capacity to work on product development projects. I wouldn't say that leads us to the least risky, but it definitely leads to ones we are passionate about, that we think are a good fit for us. We will avoid things which we also don't agree with personally. Like if you're trying to produce diet pills as a supplement product, I'm sorry, that's not something we're going to engage with.
Let's talk about Anna and Philip from How to Renovate a Chateau. Awesome creator, and I'd love for you to just explain it to the audience what they do, because it's very niche, but it's the content that they produce is incredibly high quality. Explain who Anna and Philip are, and then would love to dive into just their revenue streams and how they've evolved as a business.
So Anna and Philip own a chateau in France, and they have been renovating it over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, and they publish weekly videos about the renovation project. Philip is an editor and worked in the TV and film industry prior to the channel, and Anna is an interior designer, and so together they're the perfect couple to be able to produce a YouTube channel. And their revenue streams have easily, I should say, fallen out of the fact that they are creative and have talents. Anna most recently designed wallpaper that they have in the chateau and sold a limited run of, I think it was 3 colors, to their audience. Sold out pretty quickly, and I think that's a real testament to the value that they're able to provide with that. In that, if you think about selling a water bottle or, Emma Chamberlain coffee, people drink coffee every day. Wallpaper, your audience needs to be someone that is currently interested in designing, renovating a room. They like the style, and the color matches what they were already planning on doing. So your addressable market for something like
Very
that,
small.
exactly.
Yeah.
However, still manage to sell for their relatively modest audience, sell out in a matter of days. And I think this is one of the things which I love about YouTube, the creator economy, is when people talk about a size of a creator, I really think it does so many creators, it does them a disservice. Oh, that's nice. That's niche. Oh, that's a cute channel. It's almost backhanded compliments. Anna and Philip, they regularly get 150, 200,000 views a video, and they probably have had a more successful wallpaper launch in just one product in 1 year than the majority of mainstream creators. Their revenue streams are an interior design course, which they launched a couple of years ago, that is doing very, very well. It's a nice, not to say passive because they do promote it, but it's an asynchronous course. They don't deliver the course all the time. Patreon has been a means by which their audience has funded their renovations. I think at one point I remember part of the Patreon was that they were going to revitalize the part of the hedged gardens in the estate of the chateau, and the patrons funded it.
Yeah, those small businesses, I think you're totally right. We get, especially in the creator economy, we get a little too obsessed with the Mr. Beast, the people with 20 million subs, but it's those ones with a couple million, like Anna and Philip. If you look at the comments on there, there's such loyalty there. Which other creators do you work with, or that you just admire from the outside, do you think have done a really good job of diversifying the revenue streams and just building really good businesses and not being solely reliant on brand deals?
I think there's 2 I'd love to talk about. One kind of following on from the last comment you made, which is, so we work with a guy called Jason Hibbs, who's Bourbon Moth Woodworking, and woodworking channels on YouTube. It's like a subgenre of DIY that is extremely popular. But Jason worked with a guy called Katz Moses, who has an infrastructure that supports a lot of woodworkers selling plans and stuff. And together they launched a chisel-shaped craft knife. And Jason sold $1 million gross in under a week, with an audience, an average video viewing figure of about 200,000. So very similar to Anna and Philip. And the kind of thing where, again, oh, that's a nice channel. Oh, woodworking, that's niche.
That's cute.
That's cute. And I would defy most managers to list someone on their roster who has sold in one product $1 million worth of units. And he's testament to his relationship with his audience. Outside of our roster, there's an amazing woman in Canada, an architect called Dami Lee, and her channel is these thoughtful but very broad interest interactions, video essays on architecture concepts, on public planning and stuff. She has a kind of private architecture practice. She has a team. I really admire how she's approached her business in a way that I admire creators doing. Like when I admire James Hoffmann and the way he's built his team and given himself choice, I admire Dami from the outside for kind of taking it seriously but with joy.
Yeah, it's those creators that are like the woodworking, like her, that are so in tuned with the art of it, but also so in tuned with their audience and what they want to see and what they want to see next. I think that's where it really is, astonishing that someone with 200,000 views, right? You look at that from the outside, especially if you're seeing bigger creators, right? But that 200,000, I think short form has maybe muddied our view of what a view is because of how the algorithms are now and how they count a view. That 200,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but again, it's 200,000 YouTube views. It's 200,000 long form views. I mean, that's worth an enormous amount, right? That someone's going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes to sit down and watch this video. And that's something that I love your perspective on is long form versus short form. Your stance on short form, I just think is really interesting and very much aligns with mine. But tell me your perspective just so the audience understands how you think about short form and long form, because I think it's critical. And I think over the next couple of years, even the next 5 or 10 years, there's going to be a change. And from my perspective, there's a little bit of a short form bubble going on.
I hate to come across as the grumpy old goat, because that's what one of the things is when you talk as a millennial or older talking about short form is that, oh, it's not for you, you're out of touch, you know that other people are enjoying it. But my job is to sit back. My job is to see how demographics and audiences engage with content, and it's to see how creators of whatever platform engage with their audience. And I feel like I've been doing this long enough as an observer to be able to see the patterns. And I think one of the wave became more identifiable. The wave of change, should I say, became more identifiable to me during the conversations around the TikTok ban, where the number of users of the platform were talking about their relief, potentially, that there was going to be a ban. That there is I wouldn't say overwhelming, but the sentiment of people discussing short form as in the same way they approach talking about junk food or smoking or a drinking habit, that they will say, oh, I watched an hour of I was on TikTok for an hour last night, and it's kind of like a confession. It's not, oh, I had a great time last night watching TikTok for an hour. I think when a society starts to talk in those terms about something, you are seeing a sea change, where I don't think it's going to be too long before we have our children or a generation looking back and thinking about the way that we scroll as adults, as parents, as people at family gatherings, as in the same way that we're like, wow, that's weird that you used to do that. Isn't it weird that doctors used to smoke during your consultation? Isn't it weird that everyone in the doctor's surgery, like they would just be just doing this the entire time, and kids would know how to do this. And I don't know what's going to happen with the digital platforms and how they approach this, but I find it fascinating that Australia banned social media platforms for under 16s except YouTube. YouTube got a pass because it's seen as educational content. I think YouTube got a pass because it's not a guilty pleasure, that people's relationship with the platform, with long form content, is more wholesome in the same way that it's digital media, in the same way that when you watch Hulu or Max, it's the same.
Yeah, I think and I think brands' relationship with it is also going to change. Right now, so many brands, I think, are still undervaluing long form integrations, and they just want the views because for whatever reason, the CMO or the COO or the board, they just think more is good. More views is better, not intentional views. And I think so many of these brand integrations are built around short form. Let's do a bunch of short form content so that then we can run it on paid and run it on other platforms. And it just feels like it can't last forever in terms of its sustainability, like you're saying, of is this healthy? Because how many people do you say it just feels guilty on a lot of levels when you're scrolling like that?
essentially talking about CMOs and brands and how they've engaged with long form. I think the biggest disservice to creators working with advertisers has been short form. I think Instagram has TikTok have distracted an entire part of the industry from developing a subtle, nuanced, and expertise-led approach to influencer marketing that has just funneled down into numbers, transactional content, programmatic sales. We could have had the same wonder. I hate to talk about Mad Men and the ad style of like TV content, TV ads and print ads. That could have come to long form content, and I think it's been distracted, and we are going to now. It's going to take another 2, 3, 5, 10 years to see what the pinnacle of what we are doing could be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. But I think the YouTube and long form creators who have been doing long form for a long time, yes, go ahead and syndicate to short form, but continue to just hone in on that long form audience, because there's just such loyalty there compared to the short form viewers.
One of my favorite integrations, not to talk about James Hoffmann again, but he hired a off-road forklift to take a electric coffee roasting machine into the desert outside of LA and hooked it up to some solar panels to make an integration for the brand Bellwether with sun-roasted, so to speak, sun-powered coffee roasted beans. And there's a scene where he opens up an Airstream in the most ridiculous, like pajama dressing gown, and walks towards the coffee roasting machine that's been going all night to get his morning brew in the middle of the desert. It's a great scene, a great video, and is a wonderful integration for a brand. And that should be possible for every genre, and every CMO should be able to think about how to deliver that vision with a creator on YouTube, because the opportunity is there.
100%. The thoughtfulness of the creative, a lot of times, yes, it can come in short form, but the long form is very different. I think a media company that does it extremely well is John Boy Media, a sports media company here in the States. And so often you'll see when they do a funny integration or they'll work with a new brand, the comments will be filled with, "This is the best ad ever. This is hilarious." I mean, that's the testament of the creator and their audience, is that A, they're happy that they're getting deals because they want their creator to do well. They're not bothered by it. But B, they pulled it off, and the brand allowed them to pull it off in the way that was authentic to them. That there's not enough of that, and there's not enough opportunity to do that, I think, sometimes in short form.
I think the Cannes Lion Advertising Festival, if anyone has an opportunity as an event to help shape advertisers' relationship with YouTube content and influencer marketing, they have the decision makers from across the advertising agencies of the world in one place, and they're building a creator track to bring those people into contact directly with the creatives of the internet. I really am interested to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
with that event.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. Let's, Charles, dive into a little bit more of how you have built your company, just from the standpoint of two things I want to cover is A, poaching talent and how our industry covers that, which I love your take on it. But I think the first thing I'd love to hear you talk about is the fact that no one on your team works on commission, which is very rare in this industry and how you're set up. Why did you make that choice? And just explain your thought process there.
I suppose I started Ziggurat to enjoy my job, and I started it when I was 29, and had a number of jobs before that point. And I suppose you'd feel like this is the thought process of every employer who has been an employee, that not to repeat the things you hate. And I know that sounds like a simple answer. So I always hated and would hate to work on commission and to sales targets. And so the idea of having sales targets and commission within the business was anathema to me enjoying it. And so I didn't. At the time, I didn't realize that that was such a stark contrast to the rest of the industry, that most talent managers work on personal commission. But so there's a fundamental thing about my personal relationship as an employer with my employees. But we are a professional service provider. We provide advice and guidance that an individual is financially incentivized to give a certain kind of advice to their client does not follow a sensible logic to me. And I have spoken to creators who then say, well, what's their incentive to do a good job? What if they don't bring in the deals for me? Well, I mean, there is always an incentive with every employee on doing a bad job, in that if they lose you as a client, they will potentially lose their job. I'm not sure they need more incentive to do a good job. And I would hope that people should be hiring people that don't need more incentive to do a good job, and otherwise they would just sit back. That doesn't sound like a good employee or a good partner. But my counterpoint to them is always, so you would like your talent manager to be pushing you to take commercial deals, even when you yourself might feel overworked, stressed, at the edge of burnout. How comfortable do you think you would be telling your talent manager that you want to take 3 months off when you know that might put their mortgage at risk? Do you not think that would add to your pressure? Would you not rather that the agency that you worked with supported its staff financially, no matter your own personal decisions, so that you felt freer to make the decisions that are best for you and your business? Generally, the answer is yes, yeah, that sort of thing. I am unsure as to how I would feel working in an environment with talent managers on commission. However, the agencies with the most aggressive personalities towards doing deals are also the ones I hear that are working on commission. And so ultimately, a talent has to find the agency that fits their way of working.
Let's go to poaching talent. It's a great one, and your stance on it. Well, you just explain your stance on poaching talent. I think traditionally, poaching talent is seen as a gentleman's agreement, right? There's someone's already signed to an agency or a management company. They're off limits right now. There's nothing, don't go ahead and poach them. Typically, is the kind of the agreement, but you don't think that it should be that way. Why?
Because fundamentally, creators are adults that should be able to make their own decisions, and there is something inherently patronizing about this idea of should we all agree? I know I'm going to get my really British accent on. That should we all just agree that if we sign someone, we won't go after our fellow managers' clients, because that's in ill taste. It's a bit unseemly. Or could we not let the creators make their own choices as to who they should be with, because they're adults and an informed decision is ultimately. I mean. To take that logic further, creators often don't feel like there is much contrast between managers and agents. The number of times we have signed a creator and, a month or 2 months, they message us and say, I didn't realize this is what it could be like. I thought what I had before was what everyone had, and I didn't know this was a choice. And so the idea that we all just sign and then just try and retain them just seems like a poor industry attitude to take. So we have a policy at Ziggurat where if any management company email, because a lot of our clients use our email address, if a competing offer comes into one of our inboxes, we forward it to the client. I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, oh, we'll poach, but we won't let you poach ours. We're going to stand in the way. I feel like I should be confident enough to be able to pass on your inquiry to my client and feel like they're staying with us they want to be with us, they're going to stay with us, or that if they leave, that I shouldn't hear that news. I should be able to handle a client leaving and take that feedback on board as to why is that the right decision for them. Why am I not competitive enough in the market with my offering? I'm frustrated sometimes. It happens rarely, but it does happen. One of my favorite things is obviously reading the email that they send our clients in order to try and sign them, and
the pitch.
Yeah, the pitch, and just being like, well,
we'll see how this works.
That's your best shot.
You had one chance at this, and that's okay. All right.
Yep. Good. Yep.
Happily forward it along.
Exactly. It feels like some agencies, their approach is they want to get no's from the largest percentage of creators as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's just a refreshing take, and I think it's something that more and more managers and agencies will have to start to follow and just be more honest with themselves about the value that they're bringing, as more creators want to work with really true partners to help them build.
Well, probably if I said 7 years ago, 10 to 20% of our clients that we were onboarding were coming from previous management. In those days, it was typically people that were unhappy and were coming to us. I would say it's more like 70% of our clients now have some kind of incumbent or previous representation. So the market is saturating from the top down, and the idea that this gentleman's agreement is going to maintain, at some point, everyone else is going to give up on it as well, because they won't be able to grow, and so they'll start doing it. The other point is that I don't think we're the best for everyone for their entire career. We're not the best fit for really early on careers and creators in their career. We like to have a broad range of opportunities to help shape and provide value. So actually, people having representation before us is good for them. They need support early on in their career, and there might be a reason or a change in their goals or their vision, which then is a poor fit for us, and they should leave. And I like to think that I'm always the first person to say we shouldn't be working together. We give notice first because we're more likely to see what's happening, and that should be the case for everybody.
Yeah, it's an awesome approach. Charles, I want to end with, we've got some rapid fire questions, and they don't have to be rapid fire answers, so to speak. But the first one is, what book have you gifted the most over the last couple of years?
So 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. I have gifted my one copy repeatedly to people and said, when you finish with it, if you like it, give it back to me and I'll give it to someone else. So 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. He was a Cubist poet in South America or Central America when he was younger, and then wrote this epic, like 800-page novel that has nothing to do with cubic poetry, but you can see it in his language. It's about a detective in Mexico City, but it's got nothing to do with being a detective in Mexico City. It's great. It's a great question to ask someone. I'm an English major. I used to work in publishing, and I used to run a literature festival. So, but books are a big deal for me.
Yeah. In the last 5 years, what behavior, habit, or belief has most improved your life?
Empathy. I think empathy is the first step towards caring for others, and fundamentally that is a trait that I wish we all showed more of. But in business, as an employer and as someone to work with talent, empathy is the means by which I can take more steps in someone else's shoes from the original position. If you are a good empathist, you aren't just able to think, oh, maybe this is how someone feels. It's been able to take multiple steps along their journey from your own experience. So, I wonder how that made them feel, and I wonder whether later down the line that they might need to burn out. How would that burnout make them feel at that point? And to track back, as a manager, empathy for our clients is such a core skill. I wish more agents and managers felt like that. That is the same.
especially in a business where everything is built on the relationship. I mean, I know a lot of business in terms of no matter the industry is built on relationship, but this one is just massively built on that. If you don't have it, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I think when people say relationship, actually they can say, oh, we get on, or we can have good business chat. But as a manager, your de-risking and your investment in an individual is also, well, how do they feel right now? I need to interpret their lack of confidence in making this video, or their concerns about this deal. Are they to do with this deal? Are they to do with the brand? Or is it to do with something else that they're thinking about at the moment? And I think that's ultimately the biggest difference between an agent and a manager. Is an agent's like saying, do you want more money for this deal? Do you want more money? Like, is that what's stopping you? And the manager saying, have you seen your kids enough recently?
The last two I've got for you, Charles. What bad recommendations do you hear in the world of creator management?
This is what you need to look at in your analytics. ... That almost every sentence that all the words that complete those sentences are nonsense. I wish so many more creators would take their head out of the YouTube dashboard and just look at their video and say, actually, it didn't do as well as I hoped because it was rubbish. Oh no, I didn't upload it on the right day, and oh, the CTR was bad, and oh, my retention's poor here. Yes, they're tools and they help you to understand it, but just move over for 1 second and look at the video, and was it as good as your usual content? No. Just stop using it as a crutch.
Yeah. That's perfect. We're gonna put that on a billboard. My last one here is this need for really great operators and really great managers. We've talked about it throughout this entire conversation is critical as things change, and especially as models change and creators demand more. What advice do you have for those who want to be in operations for a single creator, or they want to start a management company? What advice would you give to that person?
I feel like this is something that then starts to replicate and repeat advice that's common in lots of other industries. Like, who makes a good politician? Someone who's had a life before becoming a politician. Who makes a good entrepreneur? Someone that had a life and worked in an industry or something before becoming an entrepreneur. I think the same is true of someone who wants to become an operator or support creators in this industry. It's what skills are you bringing to the industry? Because just saying, oh, I'll just email people and I'll work my way up from the inside, that's fine. Everyone needs to work, and if you're passionate about this industry, that's great. But we need people who are coming with external experience. I'm an English major. Half of my cohort wanted to go into the arts or publishing, and those industries are full of people without hard skills. They're not lawyers. They're not economics grads. They're good with words, and that's my forte. But our industry also needs people who have good with numbers, analytics, and hard skills, not just more editors. The operators of the world are not going to come from the best operators in our industry will not come from internally. They will come externally, and this is a call for the opportunity. You can make a killing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Creator Ops Podcast. If you're interested in chatting more about the creator economy, send me a message on LinkedIn or email me at thomas@creatoropsmedia.com.